I'm 92 years old, and my doctor told me that without the pills, I wouldn't make it through the year. I said no. That was 27 years ago. Now, I want you to sit with that for a second, because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, she got lucky. She's just one of those people. But honey, luck had nothing to do with it. What happened to me was something a lot of people my age are going through right now, today, and nobody is telling them the truth about it. And that bothers me. It bothers me more than I can say. Let me back up a little. I was 65 when it started. My husband Harold had passed the spring before, and I told myself the fog in my head was grief. You know how grief feels, like walking through water, like the world is just slightly out of reach. I figured that's what it was. I'd forget where I put the mail. I'd start a sentence and lose it halfway through. I'd stand in the kitchen doorway and have no idea why I'd walked in there. My daughter thought I needed to see someone. She was worried. I could see it in the way she looked at me at dinner, that careful, watching look. I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Either you've felt it yourself, or you've watched someone you love start to slip, and you told yourself the same thing I did. It's just age. This is just what happens. That is a lie, and I mean that with all the gentleness in my heart. My doctor at the time was a perfectly nice man. He ran some tests, nodded at his clipboard, and told me I had early cognitive decline. He said it was normal for my age, that we could manage it, and he handed me a prescription. Just like that. Manage it. Not fix it, not find out why it was happening. Manage it. I remember driving home and sitting in my car in the driveway for a long time. Something didn't feel right to me. I'd always been sharp. I'd taught school for 31 years. I'd raised 3 children mostly on my own during some very lean years. I knew my own mind, and I knew this didn't feel like my mind getting old. It felt like something was wrong. There's a difference, and I think deep down, most of us can feel that difference if we're honest with ourselves. I didn't fill the prescription. I went home and I started asking questions. The answer I kept coming back to, the one that nobody had mentioned, not once, not in any of those appointments, was B12 and magnesium. 2 things so simple that you can buy them at any grocery store. 2 things that your body absolutely cannot function without. 2 things that are quietly, steadily, almost invisibly depleted as we get older. And when they run low, the first thing that starts to go is your mind. Now, I'm not a doctor. I want to be clear about that. But I spent the better part of 2 years reading everything I could find, talking to a naturopath who actually listened, and most importantly, paying close attention to my own body. And what I learned changed my life. I mean that literally. I am sitting here at 92, talking to you, with a mind that still works. I still do the crossword. I still balance my own checkbook. I remember the names of my grandchildren's teachers. That is not a small thing. Here is what I learned about B12. After the age of 50, and especially after 65, the stomach produces less of something called intrinsic factor. That's the protein your body needs to actually absorb B12 from food. So even if you're eating well, even if you're doing everything right, your body may not be taking in what it needs. The B12 gets depleted slowly, over months and years, and the symptoms creep up on you so gradually that most people don't even notice until the damage is already done. Memory problems, confusion, fatigue that goes bone deep, tingling in the hands and feet, that hollow, disconnected feeling. And here's the part that made me furious when I first understood it. Those symptoms look almost identical to dementia. Almost identical. Which means a lot of people, a lot of good, intelligent, perfectly treatable people are being told they have something they don't have, and being given pills that do nothing to address what's actually happening in their body. I think about that. I think about how many people went down a road they didn't have to go down, just because someone didn't check a simple blood level. Does that not make you angry? It should. It makes me angry, and I'm 92, and I've made my peace with most things. Magnesium is the other piece of this, and I think it might even be the more overlooked one. Almost every older adult I know is deficient in magnesium and has no idea. The soil our food grows in is so depleted compared to what it was 50 years ago that even people eating plenty of vegetables aren't getting what they used to get. And magnesium is involved in over 300 functions in the human body. It helps your heart keep its rhythm. It helps your muscles relax. It helps your brain calm down at night so you can actually sleep. And here's something that took me a while to understand. Magnesium and B12 don't just work alone. They work together. When one is low, the other has a harder time doing its job. It's like a partnership. You need both. Now, let me tell you how I think about this, because I think the picture is helpful. You know how old houses have old pipes? If you've ever lived in a house built before the 1950s, you know that over time, those pipes get corroded. They get buildup on the inside. The water still comes through, but it comes through slower, and sometimes it comes through cloudy. And sometimes things get clogged in ways you don't notice until one day, something just stops working. Your blood vessels, as you age, are doing something similar. That's not a scare tactic, that's just biology. And when you're running low on the nutrients that keep those vessels healthy and flexible, when you're running low on what the brain needs to make its electrical signals, the whole system starts to slow down and cloud up. Not because it's broken beyond repair, because it's not being maintained. What changed everything for me wasn't a pill. It was food, real food, and timing. I started eating beef liver once a week. I know. I grew up eating liver and I'd sworn off it for decades. The same as most people my generation eventually did. But nothing on this earth is more loaded with B12 than beef liver. Nothing. A single serving has more B12 than you'd get from almost any other source in a week. I learned to cook it in a way I could actually enjoy, sautéed with onions, which I always loved. And I made it a standing appointment on Thursdays. That's just how I think about it. Thursdays, liver. I also started eating mackerel, sardines, eggs from a local farmer whose chickens actually go outside. If you can find eggs from truly pasture-raised hens, the yolk color alone will tell you something is different. It's deep orange, almost red, and the nutritional profile reflects that. 3 or 4 of those a week became part of my regular eating. For magnesium, I leaned into dark leafy greens. Real ones, not the pale iceberg I'd been tossing in salads for years. Spinach, Swiss chard, the dark, bitter greens that my grandmother used to cook down with a little vinegar. Pumpkin seeds became something I kept in a small dish on the counter, because they are one of the single best sources of magnesium you can eat. And they're easy. A small handful before bed. I also started adding a square or 2 of real dark chocolate. Not the sugary stuff, but actual dark cocoa. And I drink a cup of real cocoa, made with just cocoa powder and warm water most evenings. Cocoa is remarkable for magnesium. My grandmother drank it every night of her long life, and I used to think that was just habit. Now I think she knew something. The timing matters too. I want to be specific about this because I spent a lot of time getting it wrong before I got it right. B12 is best absorbed in the morning, before you've eaten much. I take mine. When I supplement, I use a sublingual form that dissolves under the tongue, because at my age, the stomach absorption issue is real. First thing, before breakfast. If I'm eating liver or mackerel that day, I try to eat it in the morning or midday, not late at night when digestion slows. Your body does its work throughout the day, and it needs the raw materials early. Magnesium is different. Magnesium I save for the evening. A handful of pumpkin seeds, a cup of cocoa, maybe some dark greens with dinner. Magnesium has a calming effect on the nervous system, and when you take it at night, it helps the brain quiet down, helps the muscles release, and sets you up for the kind of sleep where your brain actually consolidates memory. That is not a small thing either. Sleep is when your brain cleans itself, literally. There's a system called the glymphatic system that flushes out waste products during deep sleep. If you're not sleeping well, that waste builds up. And what does that buildup look like? It looks like brain fog. It looks like forgetting. It looks like decline. Do you see what I mean when I say this is not just about age? Age is not the reason your mind is going, if your mind is going. Age is the context, but context is not cause. And I think the medical system, for a long time, has used age as a reason to stop looking for the actual cause, to hand someone a prescription and send them home. And I think that is, and I will say this plainly, wrong. I'm not telling you not to trust your doctor. I still see my doctor. I have a wonderful doctor now who actually listens, who ran a full panel on me, who looked at my B12 and magnesium levels, and my homocysteine levels, which is another marker people don't talk about nearly enough. High homocysteine is like a warning light for vascular damage in the brain, and both B12 and folate and B6 help bring it down. She looked at everything. She was genuinely surprised at my numbers. She told me I had the vascular markers of someone 20 years younger. I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you because it confirms what I have spent 27 years believing. What you put into your body, consistently, faithfully, every single day, matters enormously. It is not too late. It is almost never too late. I think about this as a quiet killer. That phrase stuck with me when I first heard it, and I've never let it go. B12 deficiency is a quiet killer because it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with drama or sudden collapse. It tiptoes in, and day by day, week by week, year by year, it takes things from you. Your sharpness, your memory, your confidence in your own mind. And because it moves slowly, because it looks like other things, because the symptoms are easy to dismiss or misattribute, people don't catch it. By the time someone does catch it, sometimes a lot of damage has already been done. But sometimes, and this is what I want people to hear, sometimes you catch it and you reverse it. Sometimes you get yourself back. I got myself back. My granddaughter Emma asked me once, when she was maybe 12, how I remembered so many stories. I have a lot of stories. I told her I kept them watered. She laughed and said, that didn't make sense. But it does make sense. The mind is like a garden in a lot of ways. You don't tend a garden once and walk away. You come back to it every day. You water it when it's dry. You feed the soil. You pull out what doesn't belong. And you pay attention. You don't ignore the yellowing leaves and tell yourself it's just fall. I ignored my yellowing leaves for almost a year. That was my year of grief and fog and telling myself it was just age. I am grateful every day that something in me finally said no, that something pushed back. I wonder sometimes what I would have been like at 80, at 85, at 90, if I had taken that prescription and stayed on that road. I wonder if I'd have the life I've had, the books I've read, the conversations I've still been able to have. The summer I spent 2 years ago teaching Emma how to cook the dishes my grandmother made. I don't know. I can't know. But I think about it, and I think about all the people out there right now who are where I was, sitting in a car in a driveway, feeling like something is wrong, and not knowing what to do with that feeling. Being told it's normal. Being told this is just what getting older looks like. Being handed something to manage the symptoms, while the real reason hides underneath, untouched. I'm 92. I don't have a lot of urgency left about most things. But this, I feel urgently about. Because it's fixable. Because the information exists. Because the foods are real and available. And most of them are foods our grandparents ate routinely before food got so processed and so stripped of what mattered. Because this is not age. It was never just age. If any of this sounds familiar to you, if you're watching this, thinking about your own mother, your own father, yourself, I hope you'll hold on to that feeling. Don't dismiss it. Ask for the tests. Ask for your B12 level. Ask for your magnesium. Ask about homocysteine. And if someone tells you your numbers are in range, ask what the range actually means. Because the conventional low end of normal for B12 is set far below what the brain actually needs to function well. I learned that the hard way. A lot of people do. I'm going to keep eating my liver on Thursdays. I'm going to keep my pumpkin seeds on the counter. I'm going to keep making my cocoa in the evenings and sitting in the chair Harold loved, and being grateful that my mind is still mine. And I genuinely hope that something I said today stays with somebody, that it changes something small, and the small thing changes something bigger. That's all any of us can do, really. Pass on what we know. Tell the truth we found out the hard way. That's what I'm doing today.